conocido días.
Kim Il-sung was born on April 15 of 1912. He ruled North Korea with an iron fist for 46 years. He was the first on the Kim dynasty to assume the power. He was the head of the state, leading his next generations to assume the power or succeed him. Kim Il-sung was well known for being the founder and first president of the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. Kim grew up in a peasant family with both of his parents and his two siblings. They were forced to flee from Mangyumbong, a city near to Pyongyang, the recent capital of North Korea. So after moving to China, Kim Il-sung decided to kick out the Japanese from North Korea by joining with some forces. His ideologies, his leadership, and his strength of will encouraged him to be the leader he needed to be to kick out the Japanese from his land. In 1926, he founded the Down with Imperialism Union, developing a bigger fight against the Japanese imperialism. In 1932, he joined the Communist Party of China. On August 15 of 1945, the Soviet Red Army entered Pyongyang and liberated it from the Japanese. Due to the alliance Korea had with the Russians in the Second World War, the leader of the Russians, Joseph Stalin, gave the opportunity to Kim Il-sung to assume the power of North Korea. With the surrender of Japan, Korea was split in two, North Korea and South Korea, divided by the 38th parallel, where Russia occupied the north and US the south. It is important to note that the US spent on war over $67 billion and the casualties toll is around 54,000 people. And a quick fact that is important to know is that a peace treaty has never been signed, so technically North and South Korea are still on war. Combining communist, Marxist, and some of his Korean ideologies, he soon forged himself as a shining leader of the new country. So finally, he declared the foundation of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on September 9th of 1948. This is known as the official name of the nation of North Korea.
Kim Il-sung was the creator of his very own ideology, the Juche philosophy, with Ju meaning master and Che meaning body. This meant that the one and only purpose of this philosophy was to create a nation led by and for the people. It is also known as Kim Il-sungism or self-reliance philosophy, and is based on three principles. The first principle, Chaju, is all about political independence. To Kim Il-sung, internal political forces were essential. Pictures of the leaders of the Kim dynasty were hung up in buildings and inside houses to ensure and promote loyalty to the governors. He even gave himself the name of Dear Leader, although he wasn't really loved by his people. Religion was prohibited and religious leaders were executed, making Kim Il-sung the one and only God to North Korean citizens. The second principle, Charib, is all about economic independence. Leader Kim looked forward to national prosperity, leading the country to his very own version of socialism, a socialism based on the notion that if a worker enjoys his job, then the work is valuable. He introduced several reforms to the agricultural sector of economy, seeking to create a self-sufficient nation and to grant stabilized living conditions for all of his people. The third and last principle is Chawi, based on military independence. Kim Il-sung was trained in Russia to become a military leader and to fulfill his ultimate goal, to create a massive and absolutely powerful army that would be able to counterattack any imperialist power that dared to enter the country. He was very strict and made sure that every man in North Korea fulfilled their military service and was always prepared to go to war if necessary.
As we all know, Japan ruled over Korea from 1910 up to 1945. So, as a consequence of the Second Sino-Japanese War of 1937, some Japanese troops just weren't enough, and so Koreans were forced to migrate to Japan in order to work as laborers. And in 1938, Japan officially opened its borders to Korea. But it was not until 1942 that Japan's national mobilization law extended its principles to include the subjects in Korea. So as we all know, Korea fought during the World War II all along the Pacific, fighting for Japan. And in 1944, all men that were not working in war topics were forced to enlist to the Japanese army. And it is estimated that about 250,000 of these men were forced to enlist, and about 10% of this number died. As a fun fact, also some women were forced to enlist to this movement. But during all this time, China declared war on Japan and organized Japanese volunteers army to fight against its own government, the Japanese government. Furthermore, the Soviet Union secretly sponsored the Korean Voluntary Army. And so, it was not until 1945 that Japan surrendered. And what happened? The United States comes in and takes the southern of Korea. Why? To try to limit Soviet Union influence in the Korean territory. So what about Kim Il-sung? Well, during this whole time, Kim Il-sung was not in Korea. He was in Russia. He was having a special training along with some Chinese and Soviet officers. And this time, he became the captain of the Red Army. So it was not until the end of World War II that Kim Il-sung comes back to Korea, to a divided Korea. Why? Because the northern part of Korea belonged to the Soviet Union and the southern part of Korea belonged to the United States. So in 1948, he found the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And it's important to know that Kim Il-sung wanted a unification of Korea. And so in 1950, he attacked South Korea. And we can say that this is After the decisive separation of the Koreas, Kim Il-sung founded the Democratic People's Republic of China. Now a new phenomenon comes to play: North Korea and human rights. Now I'm going to present a short analysis of the universal rights that were violated during Kim Il-sung regime. Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Article 13. Everyone has the right to live in a country, including its own, and to return to it. During his regime, Kim Il-sung aimed to control the entire population. His doctrine was based on fear, ignorance, and isolation. He soon introduced a doctrine of nationalist self-sufficiency, known as the Juche. The main principle of the Juche was that the Korean people are masters of their own destiny. But since Kim Il-sung was the ruler, that meant that he was the master of their own destiny. And that's how he became able to control people's ideologies. Okay, Article 5. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Article 17. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Article 9. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. So, Kim controlled people's ideologies, but obviously there were dissents. To be more specific, tons of thousands of citizens. They were all sent to these concentration camps, and some of them were executed. Article 21. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country. Article 26. Everyone has the right to education. As it was mentioned before, Kim's doctrine was based on fear, ignorance, and isolation. That meant that those born after the Korean War also knew the world Kim wanted them to know. Radios received government stations only and could not have access to non-government influences.
After Kim Il-sung became president and made the Constitution of 1972, his repression got worse. In fact, he almost closed contact with other countries. Still, years passed and he decided to join the UN in 1991. As he saw the end of his career, he, not wanting to let go of his dictatorship, arranged a place for his son to continue what he started, making a so-called communist dynasty. Kim Il-sung's communist dynasty was successful. In fact, it was so successful that both the dynasty and communism are still part of North Korea today. This has brought a great threat to North Korea's economics as much as to the well-being and living standards of people. His dictatorship has left North Korea with countless deaths and laws that have only established more conflict in the country, making people seek for refuge and freedom in other countries. In conclusion, Kim Il-sung's dictatorship has broken North Korea and established an anti-human rights environment around it, proving the great loss of a country when put in a wrongly managed dictatorship.